Chapter 3. Trial by Beast. At the pinnacle of a stone-stepped platform was a throne carved out of the skull of a giant python. A ridiculous piece of furniture, it was a shameless indulgence to its owner's love for the theatrical, and would have looked comical except for the man sitting on it, radiating the kind of casual menace normally reserved for an apex predator. Ba, family name Pang, sat leisurely on the throne with the side of his head resting on his fist, his eyes flickering to the seat beside him. His aura of primal power lessened a little as he looked upon the man sitting there. The family resemblance was plain to see, and the man could have been mistaken for Ba's brother, albeit a thin, sickly one. The contrast between them extended to their seats, with Ba's terrifying throne accentuating his innate savage dominance, while the other man resided on a plain wooden chair as emaciated as himself. Movement from in front drew Ba's attention away from his companion, and he turned to see 7 people walking across the empty sanded ground towards him. Bright daylight poured into the open-air arena, making the approaching figures easy to spot, even without Ba's heightened senses. As it was, Ba could easily make out their smallest details, and studied them with the interest of a merchant inspecting potential goods. All of them were young people between the ages of 15 to 19 and had the strong, powerful builds of highly trained athletes. Consisting of 3 women and 4 men, they walked with youthful confidence before stopping at the foot of the platform to bow respectfully at Ba. Eyes passing along the group, Ba's gaze lingered for a moment on one of them. Tall, broad, and with a handsome chiseled face, the young man could best be described as a wild Adonis. Snapping his gaze away from the man, he instead took in the entire group, then said one word:
"Begin."
A column of invisible pressure descended from the sky, hurtling towards the group of youths with the weight of a collapsing mountain. 3 of them were instantly crushed, their bodies pinned flat against the sanded floor, and instantly taken out of the fight. The remaining 4, 2 men and 2 women, scattered in all directions, determined not to present an easy single target for Ba to focus on. The 2 women took to the air, one borne aloof by the plumage of a bird of prey, while the other flew on the wings of a giant bat. Both sets of wings were created from spectral lights and sprouted out of the backs of the women. While the ladies flew, the men had become streaks of light, one blue and one green, moving with the speed of lightning. Their momentum would have overwhelmed the senses of a normal person, but to Ba, they might as well have been standing still. Through his enchanted vision, he could clearly see the animal outlines that encompassed their bodies and gave them their blinding speed. One had the form of a jade-green snake, while the other had the shape of a sapphire-blue dragon. A wave of power erupted from the motionless Ba and flew towards the remaining youths, expanding quickly. It soon engulfed the entire arena. The 2 women were knocked out of the air, and one of the men was sent sprawling to the ground, unable to resist the wall of power. Within a matter of seconds, nearly the entire group of youths had been laid low, leaving one solitary figure standing on the arena floor. Where once there had been a lightning-fast blue dragon, now there was a large dragon turtle made of black light, squatting in the arena like a stone fortress. Its thick ebony surface was heavily cracked and battered, making it clear that the magical construct was on the brink of collapse, but stubbornly it refused to fall. For a moment, it seemed that Ba was about to unleash one more attack to finish off the remaining youth. But the blow never came. Instead, he opened his mouth and said a single word.
Enough!
And with that command, all the power within the arena vanished, including the jet-black dragon turtle, leaving in its place the same young man that had previously caught Ba's eye. Standing in a defensive position, with his head tucked into the arms crossed in front of his chest, the youth looked as battered as his construct had been. However, when he raised his head to meet Ba's gaze, it was with steel in his eyes. The arena doors burst open and two groups of people came rushing in. First were dozens of servants carrying stretchers, bandages, and other medical paraphernalia, who started seeing to the injured youths. Next came a much smaller group consisting of a few men and women dressed in the finery of the nobility. Many amongst the latter group stared worryingly at the fallen youths, with some even looking like they wanted to join the servants in seeing to the injured, but were prevented from doing so by their companions, who bustled them forward to stand before the platform.
I assume there are no more objections to my choice?
Ba said, in a voice that made the words less a question and more of a challenge that none of the assembled nobles wanted to take up. Accepting their silence as consent, Ba continued.
Very well. Then it is decided. Pang Hao, you will represent our family in the new star tournament.
Waving away the servants who had been fussing over his injuries, Hao stepped forward and walked towards the platform, while the assembled nobles parted to let him through. Stopping at the foot of the throne, he bowed deeply.
By your command, grandfather.
Lifting his head, Hao waited until his grandfather dismissed him with a nod, then took 3 backward steps before turning on his heels to leave. Ba felt a stab of annoyance, not for himself but for the man sitting beside him, Xiao family name Pang, Ba's son and Hao's father. While Hao had been perfectly respectful to his grandfather, he had completely ignored his own father, an action so disrespectful that Ba was sorely tempted to admonish him on the spot. However, to do so right after having appointed Hao as the family's representative to the new star tournament would have undermined Ba's authority. So he had to bite his tongue and settled for glaring at the departing man.